now that you know how the mod project works, we're going to move over to the Blender side of things, how to break models, why we cut models, the difference between concave and convex colliders in Unity, and just go through the basics of why we do everything. Just go ahead, first link in the description, download Blender, that's going to be this button here, and then while that downloads, we're going to move over to Sketchfab. I'll have that in the description too. I already found a model I like. This is a hammer, but you can just go ahead and search, look for stuff that's downloadable. So, I want to, let's say an axe, hit download. I'm going to look around, this little model, this here, that means it's paid. You're going to want one that's just like download, and like this one's cool. Download, you can see it's under 30k triangles. We're going to want to aim for under 30k. The lower, the better performance you'll get in game. And then we can hit download, and then we're going to want the FBX format. That's just what Unity uses best, and it's what we're going to be using for this tutorial. So I'm going to go back to my model. Come on. Well, my model's gone. I've already downloaded it, but it's the same thing. You go ahead and download, and then FBX. This one doesn't have an FBX. But once you have your model downloaded, we're going to want to open Blender, hit A, and then delete to delete everything in there. And then we're going to want to go to our model. So right here, where is it? There it is. We have our model. This is what we want. Just copy the address, or copy the the address to the weapon. Go ahead, hit File, Import, FBX. Then you can just go ahead and put that in there, into this top area, and then go to your model. Double click it to open it. And we can see here, the person didn't upload the model correctly. They left the camera and the light. So that gives me a good reason to explain why we delete those. So the light, if left in game, once put in Unity, that's going to put a very bright white light into the game. That's going to look awful. So you're just going to want to go ahead and delete that. And then the camera. This is the most important. If you don't delete this camera, it will start to show what is going through this camera into the player's headset. That's going to be very disorienting. That's going to make you vomit, and that's going to make the game unplayable. So make sure that is deleted. And then we're just left with our weapon. As we can see, this one, it's all one part. Sometimes they won't be one part. Sometimes the person who made it will be nice and have already split it up. But in a lot of cases, that's not going to happen. So we're going to go through splitting it now. So first off, why do we split it? So we split it because Unity uses convex colliders instead of concave. So what a concave is basically it's this area right here. So a convex would do this, but a concave is doing this. Unity will not do the concave once it's marked as a convex collider. So what would actually happen is it would do this along the whole thing, and that that doesn't look good as a collider. So what we're going to do is we're going to split it up so that those areas don't exist. So first off, hit Tab with the weapon selected to go ahead into edit mode, and it's going to look like this. You're going to see, all of these dots and all of these lines. That's just how you edit the weapon. And what we're going to do is we're going to break it into parts that ignore those concave areas so they don't exist anymore. So first off, you can hit Z to go into this menu and then hover over wireframe and let go of Z, and that'll bring you into the wireframe mode. And there's two ways you can select things. You can either select everything manually, like I need this, but I don't need this because that's part of that, and that will give you just this part. Or if it's set up correctly, you can just hit L, and that will also give you this part. And then once you have a part selected, we can hit P and then selection. So we will get a bit of concave here, because this is convex, but this is so small it does not matter. You just want to get rid of the big parts, like the one that from here. So now we have this. We can select this part, break it again. These two, I'd say they're small enough that it won't matter if you keep them together. And the less mesh colliders you have, the better performance you're going to get. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these together just by, selecting one and then selecting the other, both with just L, and then P, and then selection one more time. And now this one is another good reason, an example of why we need to do the thing with the breaking so that we don't get those mesh collider or concave, because again, that would do this. In a normal world with, convex or concave, we would have this happen, but we're not in that. So what we actually have to do is we have to break it up, because otherwise we're going to get colliders like this, and that's going to look bad. So we're just going to clean all of that up. So we're just going to split one of these off. So what I'm going to do is just select all of this, and then if we hit P in selection, we can now see if I go into normal mode by hitting tab again, If I select this, we have this long tube. If I select this, we have this tube. And that just gives us, you know, those two parts split apart. So now whenever we give these two colliders, we'll have a box here and a box here, and that'll give us perfect collision. Now, that is our model split in Blender. Everything is all set up correctly. No textures on this. But everything is all split up correctly. This will give us good colliders in-game. This will just make everything feel better, and players will like it a lot more. So now that we have that all cut up, what I would do, if you want to, I would name everything. Like this is head 1, handle 1. You know, just do that for everything so that in-game, or in Unity, you're less confused while setting everything up. This will just make everything easier for you. Now, what we're going to want to do is export this into, just export it so that it's all saved and cut up. So you can just do File, Export, FBX, and then I'm just going to put this back into the folder for the tutorial. So that's just going to be here. And we're going to want to name it. So I'm going to do, you know, Toot Mace Cut. You can name it whatever. It doesn't really matter for you. Just whatever's easiest. And you're going to hit Export. So now if we go into our folder, you'll see Mace Cut. Some extra things you can do here. So if you have a model that has way too many colliders, like if I go, or way too many triangles, like we talked about earlier, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to do statistics. As you can see, I don't have a lot, but like if I go in here and I just like subdivide it a bunch, let me open that up. You know, this is going to start to get to an insane amount. So if we need to make it, you know, less, what we can do is we can go in here and do decimate, and we can just lower this, and you'll see that's going to lower it a lot. It's if you get the correct kind of model, you won't need to do that, but it's good to know that you can do that. You can also do like decimate, and then unsubdivide, and that'll kind of, you know, it's not good. If you want to go in and actually mess around, you can select all of these and kind of clear them up. But if you don't have the time or you don't understand how Blender works, you can just do the decimate, and that'll work well enough for you. You know, some people won't like doing that. Like in actual like professional models, that would not give you a good result. But you're not a professional; you're just making a mod. If you want to learn how to do all that, I'd recommend it. It's fun to mess around in Blender. But if not, this is the basics of Blender. There's some more things you can do in it. If I want to make these bigger, I can hit S and then scale them. Or I can, you know, Alt-S. Well, this model doesn't work well enough with Alt-S. But you can just mess around. If you want to mess with the proportions of anything, like if I wanted to, you know, kind of pull this handle in, I could. And that would, you know, give me like a shorter handle if there's a specific change you want with your model. Or like if I wanted this to be longer, I could go in and I could scale it, you know, S and then along a specific axis with those buttons. Or I could go into the model and just go ahead and move this. And, you know, now I got like a really long hammer. For most cases, you won't be doing anything like that. But if you want to, or if I wanted to add something, like if I wanted to add a spike here, I could do mesh, cylinder, nope, not cylinder, mesh, cone, go ahead and rotate that 90 degrees. And then I can just move it into the right spot. And we got like, you know, a little spike on it. It's just good to know you can do all this stuff in case you want to. Obviously you won't be doing that, but in your first few mods, but as you move along, you might need to mess with stuff or even make models if one doesn't exist. So I just mess around with it sometime. I have fun with it. Now, one thing you should know is if you have a model that looks kind of like here, if I come in here and I add a sphere, you can see you've got like these, you can see each face, and that doesn't really look nice. So you can right click and shade smooth, and that'll make everything smooth. You won't really see it, and this will show up as smooth in Unity. It'll obviously have the same try count. You'll still be able to see, like, if I look here, you can see where it is each face, but it'll look a lot smoother in game. Or if you have something you actually want to look sharp, You can obviously shade it sharp. These blue lines are sharp lines. If they weren't there, it would look like this. If I clear sharp, you can see this doesn't look nice because it's not smooth. So if I make it shade flat, or shade smooth by angle, that'll make sure it's hard lines there. That just makes everything look nicer, depending on what your model is. So keep that in mind. That's about it for why we cut everything. You just need to remember, why do we make the model cut up? And that, again, is to avoid those convex collisions, because those don't work in Unity. So we're going to have to make them, break them by, giving them two different collisions. And that's what we did in here by breaking these up. That's the most important thing to take from this tutorial. You need to avoid concave areas in models by breaking them up. That is why we do everything. That is the important part of this. If you don't do that, you're going to get weird colliders. If that's not an issue for you, you can go ahead. But if you want everything to feel nice in game, you're going to want to avoid big concave areas like this. It's just going to make everything look and feel better in game. That's about it. We're going to move on to the next part. That's going to be actually setting stuff up in Unity. So I'll see you in the next video. That's going to be on screen. Bye.